Okay, we're here at 13th and Lakeside in Cleveland, Ohio, and it's an interesting area called Cardinal Mindszenty Plaza. And let's take a look. So this is the bust of Cardinal Mindszenty, Joseph Mindszenty, 1892-1975. But what we're really looking at today is this powerful, powerful statue. This is the freedom fighter from 1956. Hungarian freedom fighter, October 23rd, 1956. In honor of the many Hungarian freedom fighters who fought against Soviet oppression. The crack in the Berlin Wall began with a hole in a flag in Budapest. October 23rd, 1956 is a day that will live forever in the annals of free men and nations. It was a day of courage, conscience, and triumph. No other day since history began has shown more clearly the eternal unquenchability of man's desire to be free, whatever the odds against success, whatever the sacrifice required. That was a quote from U.S. President John F. Kennedy. So this is the freedom fighter statue. You can see it's the flag of Hungary, and they tore out the Russian star that was added to their flag when they occupied the Soviet star. The Hungarian freedom fighter, 1956. And we're going to meet a 56er in a minute here. Next, as you can see here, here's one who we're going to be meeting. Imre and Carolyn Balogh. Okay, today we're talking with someone, I always just call you the 56er, but of course your name is Jim Balogh, which is actually Imre, right?
Yes.
That's the Hungarian. And
when I came here, the Americans said, oh, Imre, same as Jim, so I stuck with Jim.
Stuck with Jim.
But my real name is Imre Balogh.
Imre Balogh, okay.
So that's a very common name in Hungary.
Yeah.
Balogh, and Imre also.
Does Balogh mean something?
No, nothing.
Okay.
And Imre came from Emmerich, from the German name.
So St. Emmerich's Church,
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna focus on you had some amazing experiences in a historical time in the world. But first, tell us, where you were born, when, some of the early stuff.
Because it needed for the story. My grandparents came out here 1900s to Allison Island. They lived in Akron for 25 or 30 years, I'm not sure. And my mother was born there. And so I didn't know that I was a born American citizen after my mother. So actually I signed up for 5 years for the U.S. Army. 2 terms in Korea, because they told me if I sign up, I get my citizenship. Well, I didn't know I was already a citizen until 5 years later, when I applied for it, and the judge says, where was your mother born? I said, Akron, Ohio. He says, what the hell are you doing here? So they gave me a certificate that I'm born American citizen, August 1939, August 26th. That's when the Second World War broke out, right after I was born. And they took my father. We didn't see him for 6 years. And he came home in 1945 after they bombed our house. We were in the basement.
Wow.
And he walked in that night. He stepped on a mine. He was in the hospital in Kiev, Ukraine. I still have a picture of him in a hospital bed.
Wow.
But he stepped on a mine, lost his hearing. So my mother kind of raised us young kids, in a small town in Hungary.
So the story of, Hungary, the Magyars, the whole 20th century, it could go on forever and ever, and people can find that on their own or read about it and hear about it.
Right.
But we know that, after World War II, the Soviets, were occupying Hungary
for over 40 years.
So let's start there. You know, we know about. We're specifically going to talk about
I grew
October
up during the war.
1956.
I was 5 years old,
Okay.
6 years old during the war, and Russian soldiers came in. First they took all our food and everything. Then the next bunch came in. He was a Ukrainian teacher in the Russian army. He bought all the food back for us, and he was nice to us. But a lot of the women was raped, young women dressed like old women. They didn't want to be raped. So actually, the Germans were bombing across the river, and then the Russians were chasing them across the river. So I grew up with that, and the Russian soldiers used to put me on their back and take me, a little kid, where they were cleaning guns and singing Russian, but they liked kids. That was one thing. But anyway, they left, the Russian army left, I think it was 89. That's when we went back to visit. And I couldn't figure out what the heck's everybody celebrated. Here, the Russian army was leaving. So Hungary became free, independent. But
so so you're how old then in 56? And where were you?
I was 16, 17 years old. I worked in a factory making spare parts for cars, night shift, and me and my buddy, I lived with my buddy. My parents were back in the old town, and we heard that there's a problem about a radio station, start shooting at people, the secret police. So we hopped on the train, and we went into Budapest. So I got stuck there all night. We got weapons, because the police and the Hungarian army turned the weapon over to the civilians, And so I was there all night by the radio station, and we took over actually I was in the museum part shooting the secret police and the radio station. We took over in the morning, and hundreds of young people, with guns. We start marching in the morning towards the parliament. And we got to, it's a park like a Jászai Mari tér, it's 1 block from the parliament. And they start shooting us from every direction, from all the buildings.
And this
was a secret police.
Russians.
Not the Russians, the secret police.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And a lot of guys, died next to me, and I was laying against the pavement like this, and the guy next to me had a long shot, and all this blood, foamy blood, coming under me, so I moved. And at the same time, I thought a rock hit me, Well, here I got shot in the back.
Wow.
The bullet went in, and it stayed, And a lot of kids jumped up, try to jump into the Danube, over the railing. And I see some of them got shot in the face. A lot of them dead over there. All young kids. These were hundreds of them, And finally, the secret police came, and we have to stand up, and they're arresting us, because. And I couldn't lift my arm, so they kept hitting with a gun, hurt your arm, because all my muscle was torn, The bullet was still in, bleeding. So they put us in the underground, I don't know how many floors down. Our room was like 32 guys, and they put my sport jacket under my head, and I was still bleeding. And we were there all night, and the next morning they took us to the city jail. And that's where they operated on me and took the bullet out, but they had no more medicine. So they just cut me open and pulled the bullet out.
Oh, jeez.
And it was never that bad. The bad part was they had this rod with, they dipped it in this brown solution or whatever, put it through the hole here and come out the other side, cleaned them because sports coat pieces was in there. So they had to clean it out. And they did it while I was standing. It was a stupid doctor. I passed out, actually. But
you say it so calmly now, people dying next to you, get shot in the face, you're shot.
So that's what happened. And of course, they put us in jail. And when the revolution started, the first 2 weeks, we won the revolution within, Budapest. And the Russians had time to send for troops from Mongolian troops, tank divisions. They all surrounded Budapest, and they start shooting left and right, people standing in line. So it was really nasty, But then, when we won the revolution, the Hungarian army came and opened the jails. One of the, I think he was a colonel with a jeep, he took me home to my sisters in Shasham, outside of Budapest, And so we thought we won the revolution, but of course the Russian came and surrounded Hungary, and actually I went back, I was all packed out, and helped people to make Molotov cocktails, in the high-rise. We were dropping them on the tanks, the Russian tanks.
Wow.
And when we came out, sometime it was all burned up, a little chunk of people in that, soldiers dead. And the secret police, they hung them, the Hungarian people, from the post lamps, upside down, and they stuffed the money in their mouth. This is what's going to happen to all who were on the Russian side, So it was nasty.
The secret police were the worst.
Yes, they were the worst. But the Russians came in, they didn't even know where they were. They were told that they were fighting some fascists. These were Mongolian soldiers. Some of them walked out of the tank, because they had no food. And it was, just terrible. Dead people all over the streets. I'm a young kid. I was just turning 17.
Now let me ask you about that. You're a young kid, and you hear about what's going on. Was it Radio Free Europe? Was it Free
Radio Free
Radio
Europe,
or
broadcast ask for help, weapons,
Okay.
The U.S., but no help came because if you remember that's when the Suez Canal, so they didn't pay attention to Hungary at all. So we didn't get any help, no guns, no nothing. So they crushed the revolution, of course, after 2 weeks.
So were you, you're a teenager, you're a teenage guy and all. Did you hop on that train and go there because of the excitement of it? Or were you political?
My friend too, let's go, see what's going on, Because we didn't want Russian troops to occupy Hungary. That's what the people were demonstrating against, the students, basically, college students.
So this was Rakosi? Was he the leader of Hungary, then the Russian?
It was Rakosi afterwards. He took over as he was a communist puppet. The Russians put him in charge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of interesting connections here. Here in Cleveland, a lot of Hungarians.
Oh yeah.
And we've got the Kossuth statue, of course. Yeah. Beautiful Hungarian garden, which you're so familiar with. The two levels and all that.
My wife's been a president for 15 years.
Yeah, Carolyn is she's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. You're 56, or she's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But there's a special place, I'm sure to you, over on 13th and Lakeside, and that's Cardinal Mazzenti Plaza.
Well, I actually helped build and design the statue. And I went to Florida and I rented a truck. I paid for it myself, and we bought the statue. It took me 2 days drive, and I asked John Megimore, he went with me. So we picked up the statue and we delivered to Steve Kakedy's house. He's got a shop until we built the base, because we had the statue, but we had to build the base. So I donated a bunch of money, and a lot of good people. You see all the names on the statue who give money to us because it costs some money.
Well, this is one of the most powerful statues I've ever seen because you've got the freedom fighter there. But tell us about the flag.
cut out the Russian symbol from the Hungarian flag. That was the first thing during the revolution. And they tore down statues, Russian statues, beat the hell out of them.
There's a big Stalin statue out there, yeah. So here in Cleveland, we've got this freedom fighter statue there, right downtown, and it's got he's holding the flag, and with the Russian star torn out, cut out, whatever.
Yes,
Very powerful.
That's the symbol of the revolution, you know that.
And now it's in a place there, and a few feet away from that is a statue, and it's named for the cardinal.
We just redid the base. I had all the granite redone, engraving redone, because the first one was a man-made material and it didn't held up, you know.
Yeah.
So then some people wanted to paint a flag. I said, okay, you know, most of the people wanted that. But we just restored the statue, you know, just a year or 2 years ago.
So the statue, of course, of Cardinal Mindszenty. Now, what are your recollections of him, and why is it named for him?
Mindszenty, we didn't put that on. That was some other Hungarian organization put that on, you know, Mindszenty.
Okay.
But he was with the revolution in Hungary, Mindszenty, you know. And he was hiding in the U.S. Embassy for I don't know how long, you know.
He was, you know, you had, on one side you had Nazis, communists, fascists, all these different things and all, and it, you know, who's a good guy, and the enemies of your enemies and friends of your enemies and all that stuff, but so it really took till '89 to get everything squared away.
When they left for good, you know, the Russians. But I had to study Russian mandatory in a school there for 8 years, so I could speak and write Russian. And when I came here, I couldn't speak a word English, of course.
Really?
You know? So it was very hard for me.
So Hungarian and Russian, but no English.
But we joined the U.S. Army in Yugoslavia in a prison camp. And then from there, they shipped us to Italy. They checked our background, thousands of us, you know, make sure we weren't sent as spies. And then from there, they shipped us to Frankfurt, downtown Frankfurt. U.S. was renting these huge buildings. And I met 3,000 Hungarians, all young kids like me. We all joined the army.
Wow.
And it was so funny because we sworn in Frankfurt for U.S. Army. We had our uniform. We went to the PX. They marched us to the restaurant. And I never forget this big black sergeant who was hard downtown Frankfurt, and we didn't know left or right, so half of them went this way, the other half that way. He was so mad, you know. He marched us to the breakfast for first time as a U.S., you know, mess hall, military mess hall. So anyway, we were there, 3,000 of us, and eventually they shipped us to Bremen and put us on the ship. All 3,000 Hungarians in the army ship. And it took us, I don't know, a couple of weeks to get to New York City. We got in a big storm and they stopped serving food. Everybody got sick.
Yeah.
That's when I find out that I'm a good fisherman, because I never got sick. I said, what the hell with all these people? You know, I have boats all the time because I'm always out going fishing, you know. So anyway, we got to New York. They put us on the train. Then they shipped us to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. 3 weeks language school, they said. And after 3 weeks, they said, you're good enough, go to the basic training. Well, we didn't understand anything. Yeah. You know, they explain how you take mines apart, guns apart. And they would ask you, you know, my buddy, I said, tell me now, what do we do? Sarge, no speak English. It was so bad. So, I got to tell you a funny story. They put us on kepi during the Hungarians, you know. And first we didn't know. First thing in the morning, like 4:30, blowing a bugle, we all run down there. We're standing there, and here come the Sarge, you know. He pulls our beard. I don't know what the hell he's trying to tell us. He said, you go upstairs and shave and come back. You got 3 minutes. So we all run upstairs. We'll come down, and we all standing in the line and looking at each other, all blood running down. You were in a hurry. Crazy stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah, and not knowing the language, my buddy was told that you got to mop the floor, and when you're done, put the mop in next door. Well, he knew door, but that's about all. He finished, and he opened his big door and throws the mop in. Here it lands on all the meat hanging.
Oh.
Here comes this big black sergeant with a big knife, and he chased him around the kitchen. He said, "I'll kill you, goddamn Hungarian." So we had a lot of fun like that, because the language barrier.
Yeah, it's fun now, but I'm sure it's tough back then.
So after basic training, I wanted to go to Frankfurt, Germany. They said, "No, you don't have enough time. We send you to Korea." A whole bunch of us Hungarian. We went to Korea. We were facing the Chinese, the DMZ.
What a story!
Cold as hell. We slept under trucks and tanks in a zipper in your sleeping bag. You get up in the morning and you couldn't open it because it froze, from breathing. It was all iced up.
Yeah.
It was a tough place, So after 13 months, I came back and applied again to go to Frankfurt, Germany, Army base. And they said, "No, you don't have enough time left, but we send you back to Korea." They sent me back to Korea, second term. So I spent 3 years Far East. But in the meantime, they transferred me into military intelligence because they wanted soldiers with multiple language skills. So I knew Russian, Hungarian, learned English. So my life became pretty nice and easy, in the military intelligence. But the Hungarian government checked everything. They opened all my mail. They had my picture and where I stationed and everything. So they wrote a book there. I thought I'd just show you. In Hungary, "Where are you, boys?" It's in Hungarian. This was right after 56. And they put my picture in there. And they called me a traitor. It says that was a propaganda book. And it says that I was early wreck, old, no hair, wooden legs, no teeth, and all my friends and relatives read this book. So we went back in 1975 for a visit. And the first thing people comes, they pulling my hair, knocking on my leg. They says, "What the hell? All this book says that," they lied. That was a propaganda book to discourage young kids to leave Hungary. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So that's why the book.
Hold that up next year. Oh man, isn't that something? That's a classic. Okay.
Yeah, and they call me traitor because I served in what do you call that? Hungarian call it Titko Renderség.
Wow. Man, these are some of the biggest things of the 20th century that you've been involved with personally,
Yes.
Shot in Korea and this and that. And you say it so calmly now. I mean, time passes and you're not getting shot at or anything now, but...
Yeah, so after I got the Army, I was at the headquarters of military intelligence in Fort Meade, Maryland. And I says to my buddies, "I have a taste for Hungarian food." And they says, "Well, go to Cleveland. There's a little Buckeye Road or a little Hungry or something." I says, "Okay." So I came and I walked down on Buckeye Road, 114 and Buckeye. There was a butcher shop, Zomboys, And they told me I can't stay in a motel. I got to come and stay with them. They got extra this and that. And here, I didn't know, but I actually met my wife over there because their son married to my wife's sister.
Okay.
So that's how I met him.
Wow.
And this older couple who owned a butcher shop, they called me son, and they treated me like one. They wouldn't take any money. After I got the order, I stayed there, you know, when she did the laundry, but I helped them in the store, I painted the house and stuff like that, you know. But that's where I met my wife in 1962, and we got married in 63. She was a school teacher. So I worked night shift in a bolt and screw and nut company, you know.
Okay.
And then my wife said, you got to go to college, you know. She went to Ohio University, she's a teacher. So I said, okay, but the language barrier is so difficult. That was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, going to college with my poor English. I had to study 10 times harder as the Americans.
Yeah.
But my wife helped me a lot, thanks God, you know. So I became a mechanical engineer. And I started my own business in 1970, making electrical products. And I started out small, because we didn't have much money, you know. But I did a good job for all the customers, never charged them overtime. They were so impressed, they kept sending me more jobs. And today we have a plant in China, Ohio, Missouri, Virginia, running 500-600 people. My two sons been running the company because I retired 12 years ago, you know, I'm 86. But we make a lot of, you know, like KitchenAid, mixers, motor housing. We make all these, when you walk across the street, you see there's yellow and red box for that. We make all of that.
Okay.
But we make parts for trucks. At one time I made millions of toaster end panels, waffle housing, sandwich makers, but now we mostly do heavy duty switches for utility companies. A lot of switches for many different applications, electrical insulators, very diversified. We make parts for submarines, aircraft carriers, name it. So very diversified, and the company's doing well.
So did Carolyn get involved in the Hungarian Cultural Garden first, or did you, or at the same time? Or?
No, first we got involved with the panel, you know, the Hungarian Development Panel.
Yeah.
I donated them quite a bit of money, you know, over the years. And then we met people at the garden in Ernie, and there's no one taking care of the garden. It was all neglected.
Yeah.
So Ernie asked my wife to become a president. You know. And then we started working for the garden, and it's in really nice shape now.
Oh, it's
We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years.
It's incredible, the 2 levels, and
yes.
You see all the weddings there every year. That's a testament to, because everyone wants to be by the gate, that wrought iron gate, and the pool, and the
So we planted dogwoods, shrubs, flowers, repaired all the sidewalks, replaced some of them, you know. The water feature we just repaired. So we constantly putting a lot of effort and money, a lot of work into the garden, you know.
I got to ask you, throughout the years and late at night or whatever, did you ever think, you know, if that bullet that hit you in the back was just a little over something, you wouldn't be around, or you'd be paralyzed or something like that? I mean,
the doctor told me if 1 millimeter, it would cut my main artery. I would have been dead.
1 millimeter?
1 millimeter.
Oh my God.
Otherwise it would bled to your death, you know.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, that's an amazing story. It took me a long time to get you to sit down with you and get some of this, but it's really worth it. No,
but what a country, you know. It tell you what the capital system that made this country great and allowed me to be so successful. Because if you work hard and save, you there is no limit what you can do in this country.
So you don't have any hard feelings like for Eisenhower or John Foster Dulles or anything?
No, because they were busy with something else.
Yeah, the Suez.
Yeah, no hard feeling, at all. So actually, when I went back to Hungary the first time, 1975, the police and the detectives came, and they says, "Mr. Bill, you got to go with us." So my wife says, "I got to go too." And I had my boys with me, American citizens. So we got to the hall, the town hall. They won't let my wife in. But we sat down at two detectives and they opened this big book. They had my whole story. The day I left, they arrested me. They even had how many Hungarians worked for me in the plant here. They had their names in it.
Wow.
That's how crazy they were. And they scared me because I thought I'd never see to go to USA again.
Yeah.
And my wife was outside. They told her to go shopping. There's no shops. After 2 hours of questioning, they closed the book and they shake hands with me. "Mr. Balogh, please come back and bring your business here." And I thought,
Yeah, really. It's amazing. I think Alex Machaski and others have said, Senator Voinovich when he was alive, freedom can be lost so quickly.
He was my good friend. He was my fishing buddy. He would come to my
Senator
house
Voinovich?
in Florida, come on my boat. He was my good friend.
Because, all this was in 1975 when you were grabbed by, and 89, and you see how the world can change so fast. So people who haven't lived it like you have, they have to learn their history and realize things can change very fast if you're not vigilant.
Yeah, but I went back after that several times, took my kids, grandkids, showed them the countryside, but they never bothered us. One time we went with Jenny and Glenn. They didn't like to drive, so I drove them 2 weeks all around Hungary, showed them all Hungary, We had a great time.
Well, I know that here in the U.S. they call you Jim, and back in Hungary they'll call you Imre, but I'm going to continue to call you the 56er because you got this great story, and it's a pleasure hearing this story, and I know our listeners, our viewers are going to really be interested in this, so thanks so much.